Greetings, culture lovers. Greetings there, culture lovers. Greetings there, culture lovers. Greetings. Well, greetings there, culture lovers. It's your old friend Dave coming at you again. And Dave is super excited to talk about the latest project coming out of David Miller Studios. It's a little something I like to call the Writer's Block 2006 Remastered Edition, featuring the talents of Peter David, Gail Simone, and Fabian Nicieza. So, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, what is a Writer's Block 2006 Remastered Edition or otherwise? Reasonable question. To answer that question, we're going to have to go back in time a little bit. It's the late 1990s. The comics industry has just gone through an incredible boom and bust period. It was the time of the superstar artists. However, it was also the time of a lot of bad writing, mostly because qualified and vastly talented writers had been pushed aside to make way for these superstar artists. And we're talking about writers who are often directly responsible for the popularity and the fiscal success of these books. And as the end of the millennia drew near, I just looked around and said to myself, that's just wrong. This doesn't make any sense. Someone should create a title or a book that not only features but showcases the contributions of the writer to the art form of comic books. And with that, the Writer's Block was born. Well, first, I created 6 pages of continuity. That is, 6 pages of original comic book art, without any captions or word balloons or thought balloons or anything that would suggest a story. And I would give it to 3 talented and professional writers without any understanding of the plot or being allowed to speak to each other. And we allow them to be inspired by the visuals and let their muses take them and us on a literary reading experience unlike anything on the stands then or since, in my estimation. It's kind of like a comic book game show. For the premiere issue of the Writer's Block, we were starting off with a banger crew of superstar writers. First off, we had Jim Shooter, who I'm sure a lot of you know was a former editor-in-chief at Marvel Comics, and took the sleeping giant that was Marvel in the late 70s and turned it into the financial juggernaut that it is today. Roy Thomas, who many see as the heir apparent to Stan Lee, and was one of the last architect of the Marvel Comics machine in the 60s. And Mike Baron, who did a lot of great work in the indie space, including co-creating the title Nexus, and then went on to write such great mainstream titles as The Punisher and The Flash. So I just happened to speak with Jim Shooter lately on something else, and he happened to mention that when he does his How to Write Comics lectures at conventions, he actually still uses this as a visual aid. And I was really jazzed to hear that. That was quite flattering. Really stoked. So we're keeping up the momentum. Issue 2 of the Writer's Block, which was the Writer's Block 2003, had another great lineup. We had Mark Waid, who I don't really think needs an introduction, but if you've seen a little thing called Kingdom Come, or maybe his stellar runs on The Flash or Captain America, or any number of independent books that he works on, or books that he worked on for the major companies, I think his resume speaks for itself. We have Joe Duffy, who I've loved since the late 70s, who worked on books such as Power Man and Iron Fist, and of course Catwoman and Star Wars, and so many others. And then, of course, we have Roger Stern, who is beloved for his runs on such titles as Captain America and Superman. Pretty good group. So that brings us to what would have been the Writer's Block 2006 edition, featuring, as I said, Peter David, Gail Simone, and Fabian Nicieza. But this was a time that not only the comics industry was going through challenging times, so was comics distribution. It was very difficult to get a book out around that time. And when I got the numbers back from the solicitations, I looked at it and I just couldn't, in good fiscal responsibility, put this book out. So, flash forward 15 or so years later, and times have changed. Technologies have changed, paradigms have changed, and of course, crowdfunding. As you might have remember, there has been recently a very public and contentious Writers Guild strike, which says to me, a book like The Writer's Block, no better time than now for it to come out again. Also, with said advancements in technology, now it can be a color book. Artists can be their own harshest critic. And when you look at something that you did over 15 years ago, you can't help but see only the things you're unhappy with. And I thought, now is a great time to just touch up certain parts of the art, fix a little inking, a little drawing here, and add color. And that is what I mean by the Remastered Edition. So, picture's worth 1,000 words, so let's just look at a few preview images. So here we go. The original art, or remastered art, and the color. And now another image, original art, remastered art, and color versions. And so on, and so on. I hope you enjoyed that. But before we go on, I must emphasize, and I cannot stress enough, that the star of this book are the writers and the writing. That is the unique experiential experience that you are buying. And I just can't say enough about this book. I just love it. I think this is a great book. Clearly the best thing I've ever produced. And I read this book to this day, and because I did make ash cans, even though I didn't actually go to press. I read this book to this day, and it still delights me. It still inspires me. What these writers contributed to this issue of the Writer's Block, with their brilliance and their individual voices, which you can experience singularly on their own chapters, and as a whole, comparing and contrasting how they approach the project and the craft of writing. I just love it. I think it's great. Also, in every issue of the Writer's Block, there is a little Q&A where we discuss how their careers in general and how they approach this project in particular. And I just thought, if you love writing, or if you're a writer, or if you just love writing, this is the book for you. Yeah, I guess it is time to talk about rewards, but I think I've taken enough of your time so far. So for now, if you want to read about rewards, you can either look at this column, or is it this column? I'm having a little trouble with my lefts and my rights right now. But in the next video I make, I will go in specific detail about the rewards. I think we got some great ones. I hope you will please engage with me in the comments below, or even if you have to in the video on YouTube, where this will also live. I'm also going to make a Facebook group or a page where you can leave questions and feedback, and I will look very much forward to responding to anything you have to say, answer any questions. I don't want this just to be a hard sell. I would like us to have a dialogue. So I guess the only thing left for me to say is I hope you'll support this project. And if you can't, which I understand, if you can help just by spreading the word. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your frenemies. I thank you for your time. Hope to hear from you soon. Hope you'll back the project. And until next time, stay frosty, culture lovers.